The Galactic Council had not called an emergency gathering in over 300 cycles. But today, every seat was filled. The chamber was enormous. It floated in deep space near the center of the galaxy. The walls were made of smooth white stone mixed with glowing metal. Tall pillars reached high into darkness. Soft blue light filled the air. Rows and rows of alien leaders sat in a giant circle. Some were massive and armored. Some were thin and glowing. Some did not even have faces. All of them were powerful. And in the center of the chamber stood one single human, Commander Elena Reyes. She looked small compared to the towering beings around her. She wore a black uniform with the symbol of Earth on her shoulder. Her hands were calm at her sides. Her face showed no fear. But inside the chamber, tension was thick. A deep voice echoed from above. Species under review, humanity. Origin world, Earth. The voice belonged to the High Speaker of the Council. His body was made of pure light, floating high above the chamber floor. For 100 years, the speaker continued, we have observed your species. A large hologram appeared above Elena. It showed scenes from human history. Wars, explosions, protests, missile launches, alien ships watching from far away. Humans are divided, said a tall reptilian council member, his armored tail resting behind him. They fight among themselves constantly. Another member, thin and pale with glowing blue eyes, added, they develop weapons faster than peace treaties. Soft agreement spread through the chamber. Elena remained silent. The speaker raised one glowing hand. Humanity has expanded beyond its solar system. You have colonized 3 nearby systems without council approval. The hologram changed. Human ships jumped through space. Mining stations built on dangerous worlds. Military fleets patrolling dark sectors. Your species evolves too quickly, another council member said. You adapt to hostile environments. You experiment with unstable technologies. The speaker's voice grew heavier. After long discussion, the council has reached a conclusion. The chamber became completely silent. Even the soft humming energy in the walls seemed to stop. For your survival, and for the stability of the galaxy, humanity requires protection. The word echoed loudly. Protection. A new hologram appeared. Earth. Beautiful and blue. Then slowly, shapes appeared around it. Alien warships. Hundreds of them. Not attacking. Watching. Guarding. Controlling. This is an act of mercy, the speaker said. There are ancient threats in this galaxy. Forces that have destroyed civilizations older than yours. You are not prepared. Some council members nodded. They truly believed this was kindness. Elena slowly lifted her head. Her eyes moved across the chamber. She saw pity. She saw concern. She saw confidence. They believed humanity was weak. She took one slow breath. Protection? She asked quietly. The word sounded small in the massive chamber. Yes, the speaker answered. Protection from dangers you cannot face alone. Elena took one step forward. The sound of her boots echoed across the white floor. From who? She asked. The chamber froze. No one expected that. The reptilian council member narrowed his eyes. You misunderstand. There are powers beyond your understanding. Elena did not look away. From who? She repeated. This time her voice was stronger. Some council members shifted in their seats. The speaker's light flickered slightly. There are war fleets in the outer dark, he said. There are ancient machines drifting between stars. There are empires that consume worlds. Elena's expression did not change. She spoke calmly. And how many of those threats have entered human space? The chamber became restless. The speaker did not answer immediately. Elena continued. In the last 20 years, 7 hostile fleets crossed into our territory. Several council members suddenly checked their data screens. Those incidents were recorded, but details were missing. Those fleets never returned, Elena said softly. A murmur spread. They were lost in unstable regions, said one council member quickly. Yes, Elena nodded. They were. She paused. Because we led them there. Silence fell again. The speaker's voice lowered. Explain. Elena's hands moved behind her back. We studied them. We watched their patterns. We learned their weaknesses. Images began to appear on hidden council screens. Human ships hiding inside asteroid fields. Enemy fleets confused by false signals. Explosions inside radiation storms. We do not have the biggest ships, Elena said. We do not have the oldest technology. She looked up at the glowing speaker. But we adapt faster than anyone. The chamber lights seemed dimmer now. We turn chaos into a weapon, she continued. We survive things that should kill us. A crystal-skinned council member whispered, "The pirate empire." Elena nodded slightly. They attacked our colonies. The pirate empire had vanished 3 cycles ago. No survivors. No wreckage. The council had believed it destroyed itself. We ended them, Elena said. Shock moved through the chamber. That is impossible, someone said. Elena's eyes were steady. You see our wars and think we are weak, she said. You see our emotions and think we are unstable. She took another step forward. But when we face extinction, we become something else. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the most powerful beings were listening carefully. The speaker slowly lowered closer to her level. For a century, he said quietly, we believed humanity needed guidance. Elena's voice was calm. If you think we need protection, she said, then you truly do not know us. Outside the chamber, stars burned silently. Inside, doubt began to grow. For the first time in a very long time, the Galactic Council was uncertain. Not because humanity was weak, but because they might have misunderstood it completely. The word protection no longer sounded simple. And Elena's question still echoed in every mind. From who? The judgment was no longer one-sided. Because now, the galaxy was starting to wonder if humanity was not the one in danger, but something far more powerful. And the Council had just realized they may have invited the wrong species into the stars. The chamber did not return to normal after Elena's words. It could not. The Council had judged hundreds of species before. Some were welcomed. Some were restricted. Some were erased from history. But no species had ever stood in the center of the chamber and questioned the judgment itself. And no species had ever made the High Speaker hesitate. Elena stood calmly while the Council whispered among themselves. Above her, streams of data began flowing across floating screens. Old records were unlocked. Restricted files opened quietly. Observers reviewed reports they had ignored for years. The High Speaker's voice returned, but it was slower now. You claim humanity has already faced external threats. Yes, Elena replied. And you did not request assistance. No. The reptilian council member leaned forward again. Why? He demanded. Why hide your battles? Elena looked at him directly. We were not hiding, she said. You were not looking. That answer spread like cold air through the chamber. Several council members reviewed surveillance records from the outer sectors. There were gaps. Large gaps. Human exploration fleets had entered unstable regions marked as forbidden by the Council. Those areas were filled with gravity distortions and radiation storms. No species willingly traveled there. Except humans. One thin, pale council member spoke quietly. Why would they go there? Another answered slowly. To test themselves. The High Speaker enlarged a new hologram in the center of the chamber. It showed a red star system near the galactic edge. 3 cycles ago, long-range sensors had detected massive energy spikes in that region. Soon after, a known war fleet from the Drathic Dominion disappeared. The Drathic were brutal conquerors. Even the Council avoided open war with them. The official report stated, fleet lost in stellar instability. But now new information appeared. Human ships had been present in that system days before the Drathic fleet vanished. The chamber grew quiet again. The reptilian council member growled softly. You lured them there. Elena did not deny it. They entered our colony space, she said. They destroyed one of our stations. Images appeared. A broken human colony drifting in space. Metal torn apart. No survivors. The chamber shifted uncomfortably. What did you do? The high speaker asked. Elena's voice was steady. We studied their movement. We studied their fuel patterns. We studied their pride. Pride, one council member repeated. Yes, Elena said. They believed we were weak. Several alien leaders avoided eye contact. Elena continued. We sent smaller ships to appear frightened. We let them chase us. The hologram zoomed in. Human ships retreating. Galactic warships following confidently. We guided them into the unstable star zone, Elena said. We mapped safe paths weeks before. The next images showed violent solar flares, gravity waves, explosions. The Galactic fleet scattered in chaos. Human ships moved precisely between deadly energy bursts. Then, nothing. The Galactic fleet vanished. Silence filled the chamber. You destroyed them using their own arrogance, the pale council member whispered. Yes, Elena replied. The high speaker lowered further. But that does not prove you can survive greater threats. Elena tilted her head slightly. Which greater threats? She asked. The speaker hesitated. Because the council itself feared something. Beyond their mapped territory was a region called the Black Expanse. Long ago, entire civilizations had disappeared there. No signals. No remains. Only silence. The council classified it as forbidden. Yet new data appeared on the screens. Human deep space probes had entered the edge of the Black Expanse. Gasps spread across the chamber. You risked extinction, the reptilian member said sharply. Elena shook her head slightly. No. We prepared. The hologram changed again. Human ships built with reinforced hulls. Experimental energy shields. Small fleets traveling in tight formation. You entered forbidden space, the speaker said. Yes. And returned. Yes. The chamber lights flickered softly. What did you find? The speaker asked. Elena's eyes darkened slightly. Something ancient, she said. Something broken. The council leaned forward. It was not a fleet, she continued. It was a machine. A massive structure drifting in darkness. It was harvesting energy from dead stars. The chamber fell completely silent. No one spoke. The speaker's light dimmed. That matches lost records from 10,000 cycles ago, he whispered. Elena nodded once. It detected our presence. And, the reptilian member demanded. It attacked. A quiet wave of tension moved through the hall. You fought it, someone asked. We survived it, Elena answered carefully. The hologram showed flashes of combat. Human ships darting between massive energy beams. Missiles targeting weak points. Explosions against ancient metal. We could not destroy it fully, Elena admitted. But we damaged it. Enough to make it drift deeper into the expanse. The council members stared at the images in disbelief. That machine erased the Valari civilization, one crystal-skinned leader said quietly. Yes, Elena replied. And you engaged it without informing the council? The speaker asked. Elena's answer was simple. You were preparing to place us under protection. The words hit harder than any weapon. The council believed humanity was fragile. But humanity had faced pirates, war fleets, and ancient machines alone. The high speaker slowly rose back into the air. For a century, we saw your conflicts, he said. We saw your divided governments. Elena nodded. That is true. But we did not see this, he admitted. No, Elena said softly. You saw what you expected to see. Silence filled the chamber again. The council had watched humanity carefully. But they had watched with judgment, not understanding. The reptilian council member looked at Elena with new eyes. You do not fear the dark, he said. Elena gave a small, calm smile. We were born in it. Outside the chamber, the blue star flickered again. Inside, something had changed. The judgment was no longer about human weakness. Now the council had a new question. If humans did not need protection, then what exactly were they becoming? And why did that realization feel far more dangerous than any ancient threat? The chamber doors remained closed. The session was not over. It had only just begun. The council chamber had never felt so heavy. For the first time, the alien leaders were not speaking with confidence. They were thinking, calculating, reevaluating everything they believed about humanity. Elena stood quietly in the center, waiting. Then suddenly, the chamber lights flickered red. A sharp alarm echoed through the massive hall. Every council member froze. Emergency symbols flashed across floating screens. The high speaker turned toward the central projection field. "Report," he commanded. A smaller council technician, glowing faint green, stepped forward. "Unknown fleet detected at the edge of council territory." The chamber shifted. "Identify," the reptilian member growled. The technician hesitated. "We cannot." The main hologram activated. Dark space appeared. Then shapes emerged from the void. Massive ships. Long, angular. Black as empty space. They moved slowly, but with purpose. There were hundreds of them. No known design matched their structure. Energy readings were unstable. Ancient. Powerful. The pale council member whispered, "This is impossible." The high speaker's voice lowered. "Location?" The technician swallowed. 3 systems from the council core. Shock spread instantly. That was close. Too close. "Send a diplomatic signal," one council member said quickly. The technician shook his head. No response. "Send a warning." No response. The hologram zoomed in further. One of the black ships released a pulse of red energy. A distant council defense station disappeared. Not damaged. Erased. The chamber fell into stunned silence. "That station was shielded," someone said weakly. The speaker's light flickered unevenly. "Mobilize council fleets immediately." Across the galaxy, alarms began to ring. Warships powered up. Defense platforms activated. But in the chamber, something else was happening. Several council members slowly turned toward Elena. She had not moved. She was watching the hologram carefully. Her expression was not fear. It was recognition. The high speaker noticed. "You have seen this before." It was not a question. Elena nodded once. "Yes." A wave of tension swept across the chamber. "The black expanse," the pale council member whispered. Elena's voice was calm. "It is not empty." The speaker's glow dimmed. "You said you damaged a machine." "Yes." "Was it alone?" Elena paused. "We do not think so." The chamber erupted into noise. "You engaged an unknown ancient power and did not report it. You may have provoked this attack." Elena raised her voice slightly, but it remained steady. "We did not provoke it. It was already active." The hologram showed another red pulse. Another system vanished. Not conquered. Not invaded. Removed. The reptilian council member slammed his armored fist against his seat. "Our fleets will intercept." But even as he spoke, updated battle data began appearing. Council warships had reached the outer system. Energy beams flashed. Explosions lit the darkness. Then, council ships were sliced apart by thin red lines of light. Shields failed instantly. Whole armor melted like ice. The Black Fleet did not change formation. They moved forward slowly, without fear, without hesitation. The chamber was silent again. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council was losing a battle. The high speaker lowered himself closer to Elena. "You understand them," he said quietly. "More than you do," Elena answered.
"How?"
"Because we studied them." The reptilian member turned sharply. "You fought one machine. This is an armada." Elena shook her head.
"No."
"This is not an armada." She pointed at the hologram. "They are not communicating with each other. They move in perfect synchronization." The pale council member analyzed the data. "She is correct. There is no fleet command signal." Elena continued. "It is one mind, spread across many bodies." A cold realization passed through the chamber. "A hive intelligence," someone whispered. "Yes," Elena said. The high speaker's voice was tight. "How do we stop it?" Elena looked at the destroyed systems on the map. "You cannot fight it directly." The reptilian council member snarled. "Are you saying we are powerless?" "I am saying you are fighting it wrong." The council fleets were designed for domination, for direct confrontation, for overwhelming force. But the black ships did not fear force. They adapted instantly. The speaker studied Elena carefully. "You have a strategy." Elena did not answer immediately. She watched another council fleet disappear. Then she spoke. "Yes." The chamber leaned toward her. "We cannot match its power," she said. "So we attack its awareness." Confusion spread. "It is one mind," she explained. "That means one weakness." The pale council member's eyes widened slightly. "If we overload its processing, it will hesitate," Elena finished. The speaker stared at her. "You are suggesting we confuse it?" "Yes." "With what?" Elena finally allowed a small smile. "Us." Silence. The reptilian member frowned. "Explain." Elena folded her hands calmly. "Humans are unpredictable, emotional, illogical." Several council members looked uncomfortable. "Yes," Elena continued. "And that is our strength." The Black Fleet valued perfect calculation, perfect order, perfect prediction. Humans were none of those things. "We can create chaotic battle patterns," Elena said. "False retreats, unstable signals, rapid frequency changes." The pale member nodded slowly. "Force it to divide its attention." "Yes." The speaker considered this carefully. "You are asking us to give command authority to humanity." Elena met his glowing gaze. "You asked from who we needed protection." Another distant system vanished on the map. The red symbols were moving closer. Now the answer was clear. The Council did not need to protect humanity. The Council needed humanity. The high speaker rose higher, light burning brighter than before. "All Council fleets will coordinate with human command." The chamber gasped. That order had never been given to a non-member species. The speaker looked down at Elena. "Show us how humans survive the dark." Elena activated a small device on her wrist. Far away, human fleets that had been quietly waiting in nearby sectors received the signal. Ships turned. Engines ignited. Weapons powered up. They did not move in straight lines. They did not form perfect formations. They scattered. Wild. Unpredictable. And as they jumped toward the advancing Black Fleet, the entire galaxy held its breath. Because the judgment day of humanity had just turned into something else. Now it was the galaxy being tested, and the outcome would decide who truly needed protection. The moment human fleets entered the battlefield, everything changed. The Council fleets moved in perfect lines. Clean formations. Equal distance between ships. Precise angles. That was how advanced civilizations fought wars. But the human ships did not form lines. They scattered. They twisted. They broke formation before they even had won. On the main hologram inside the council chamber, blue icons marked human ships. Red icons marked the Black Fleet. The Red Fleet moved like a single body. Slow. Cold. Exact. The blue icons moved like sparks in a storm. Unpredictable. The reptilian council members stared at the screen. "They are disorganized." Elena stood beside the high speaker. "No," she said calmly. "They are alive." The first human ships opened fire. Not all at once. Not in order. Missiles launched from unexpected angles. Energy pulses fired and then stopped suddenly. Several human ships charged directly at the black vessels, then turned away at the last second. To the council, it looked messy. Wrong. But something strange began to happen. The Red Fleet slowed. Only slightly, but enough to notice. The pale council member studied the data. Their targeting systems are recalculating repeatedly. Elena nodded. They predict patterns. We are giving them none. One of the black ships fired a massive red beam. A human cruiser was cut in half instantly. The chamber fell silent for a moment. But instead of retreating in fear, nearby human ships accelerated toward the destroyed cruiser's debris. They used the floating metal as cover. They split into smaller groups. They began sending thousands of random signal bursts. Signal interference rising, the technician reported. The Red Fleet shifted formation. For the first time, it reacted. The high speaker's voice was low. It is adjusting. Yes, Elena said. But adjustment takes time. Human fighters suddenly rushed directly into the center of the red formation. The reptilian council member growled. Suicide. But it was not. At the last second, the fighters released small drones in every direction. Hundreds of them. Each drone emitted different energy frequencies. False readings. False targets. The Red Fleet paused again. Energy weapons fired in multiple directions at once. Several black ships even fired across each other's paths. Small damage. But damage. A ripple moved through the chamber. It is dividing its attention, the pale member whispered. Yes, Elena said quietly. Another wave of human ships jumped into the system. They did not enter together. They arrived at random points. High above, below the battle plane, even dangerously close to the Red Fleet. One human destroyer flew directly toward a massive black capital ship. It fired continuously. Wild. Almost reckless. The black ship focused entirely on it. Energy built at its core. The reptilian council member watched closely. It will be destroyed. Yes, Elena said. The red beam fired. The human destroyer vanished in light. But at that exact moment, 3 hidden human ships emerged from behind a radiation cloud. They targeted a glowing node at the rear of the capital ship. They fired everything. Missiles. Rail cannons. Focused plasma bursts. The node cracked. A shockwave passed through the black vessel. For the first time, one of the ancient ships drifted out of formation. Disabled. The chamber erupted. They damaged it. How? Elena spoke softly. It focused too hard. The Red Fleet began firing in wider arcs now. Less precise. More defensive. The hive mind was no longer calculating perfect victory. It was reacting. The high speaker looked at Elena carefully. You are not stronger than it. No, she agreed. You are confusing it. Yes. Another human tactic began. Several ships started broadcasting emotional audio signals across open channels. Human voices. Shouting. Laughing. Arguing. Music. Noise. Pure chaos. The pale council member blinked. What is that? Distraction, Elena answered. The hive mind processed data with logic. Clear inputs. Clear outputs. But now it was receiving unpredictable sound waves mixed with false tactical signals. Its response time slowed further. Council ships, watching the change, began adjusting their own patterns. They broke formation slightly. Not fully human style, but less rigid. Together, human chaos and council strength began pushing the Red Fleet backward. Then something unexpected happened. One of the black ships did not retreat. It moved forward alone, straight toward the human fleet. Its surface opened. A massive red core glowed brighter than any weapon before. The technician's voice trembled. Energy spike beyond previous readings. Elena's expression changed slightly. It is centralizing processing power. The high speaker understood. It is focusing everything into one strike. The red core expanded. Space itself seemed to bend around it. Human ships tried to scatter. But the energy field was too wide. If it fired, half the fleet would vanish. The chamber fell silent again. The reptilian council member looked at Elena. Your chaos has pushed it to desperation. Elena nodded slowly. Yes. Can you stop this? Elena activated her wrist communicator. A single message was sent to all human ships. 2 words. Phase shift. On the hologram, human ships suddenly stopped attacking. They stopped firing. They stopped broadcasting noise. They did something far more dangerous. They shut down their primary power cores. One by one, blue icons began going dark. The council gasped. What are they doing? Someone shouted. The battlefield changed instantly. Without active engines, without energy signatures, the human ships looked like debris. Silent. Drifting. The red core hesitated. Its massive energy pulse was built to target active threats. Now the system was flooded with thousands of cold objects. Its targeting logic struggled. Milliseconds passed. Then seconds. The core flickered. Energy destabilized. The black ship could not calculate. It could not decide. And in that tiny window, the remaining powered human stealth ships, hidden far away, fired long-range kinetic strikes directly into the exposed core. The red light shattered. The massive ship exploded in silence. A shockwave rippled across the battlefield. The rest of the Black Fleet froze. Completely still. Inside the council chamber, no one spoke. They were watching something impossible. The hive mind was hesitating. Human chaos had forced a machine of perfect logic into uncertainty. Elena looked up at the high speaker. You cannot defeat something like this with strength alone. The Red Fleet slowly began retreating. Not destroyed, but thinking, calculating, re-evaluating, just like the council had done earlier. The high speaker's voice was quiet now. You fight like no species we have ever seen. Elena's eyes remained on the screen. We survive like no species you have ever understood. The battle was not fully over. But something had changed. The ancient hive mind had felt confusion, for the first time in its long existence. And that confusion had a name. Humanity. The battlefield became quiet. Too quiet. The Black Fleet had stopped moving. It did not fire. It did not retreat further. It simply waited. On the massive hologram inside the council chamber, red icons stood frozen in space. Human and council ships floated at a careful distance. No one trusted the silence. The reptilian council member broke it first. Why has it stopped? Elena did not answer immediately. Her eyes were fixed on the largest black vessel still active. It is thinking, she said finally. The pale council member frowned. It is a machine. It does not think. It calculates. Elena shook her head slowly. It lost a unit. It experienced confusion. That is new for it. The high speaker's light pulsed softly. You believe it is adapting? Yes. As if responding to her words, the Red Fleet began to move again. But not forward. Not backward. Sideways. The formation changed shape. Instead of a single tight structure, the ships began spreading apart. Wide gaps opened between them. The technician gasped. Energy signatures increasing across all units. On the hologram, faint red lines appeared between the ships. Connections. A network. The pale council member's voice trembled slightly. It is decentralizing. Elena's expression grew serious. Yes. We forced it to stop acting like one mind. The reptilian leader understood first. Now it will act like many. Before, the hive fleet moved as one perfect intelligence. Now each ship was beginning to operate with partial independence. Less confusion. More flexibility. More dangerous. One of the black ships suddenly fired, without warning. A council cruiser exploded instantly. Another red beam followed, from a different angle. This time it was not predictable. Not synchronized. Human ships tried to dodge. 2 fighters were destroyed before they could react. The high speaker's voice rose. It is learning from you. Elena did not deny it. Yes. The chamber grew tense again. The advantage humans had created was shrinking. The Red Fleet was no longer hesitating. It was evolving. The technician's voice came quickly. Multiple attack patterns detected. No central delay. The pale council member whispered, We taught it chaos. On the battlefield, the red ships began copying human unpredictability. Short bursts of movement, sudden angle shifts, false retreats. The hive mind had studied humanity's tactics in real time, and now it was using them. Human commanders saw the change instantly. Across open channels, calm voices gave rapid orders. Switch patterns. Randomize again. Split squads. But something was wrong. The red ships were no longer reacting slowly. They were anticipating. A human frigate attempted another drone distraction. The Red Fleet ignored it completely. Instead, 3 black ships targeted the command vessel hiding behind the line. Precise. Efficient. The vessel barely escaped. Inside the council chamber, fear returned. The reptilian council member spoke harshly. Your strategy has empowered it. Elena's jaw tightened slightly. Yes, she said quietly. Then what now? The high speaker demanded. Elena looked at the spreading red network lines on the hologram. It is no longer one mind, she said. But it still shares one memory. The pale council member understood. It remembers confusion. Yes. The Black Fleet suddenly accelerated. Half of it charged toward council territory. The other half turned toward the human ships. Divide and pressure. Force both sides to defend. The speaker reacted immediately. All council fleets, protect the core systems. Ships broke formation to defend their home worlds. The Red Fleet expected that. It targeted the gap instantly. 3 council defense stations vanished. Elena felt the shift. The hive mind had stopped testing humanity. Now it was testing the council. Proving a message. You are not ready. The high speaker turned sharply toward her. If this continues, we will lose 3 systems within the hour. Elena's eyes remained steady. Then stop fighting it like a fleet. The reptilian member growled. It is a fleet. No, Elena said firmly. It is a survivor. Silence followed. Elena stepped closer to the hologram. It came from deep space. It consumes energy. It avoids total destruction. When confused, it adapts. When pressured, it spreads out. She looked at the speaker. It wants to live. The chamber stilled. Machines did not want. But this one did. The pale council member spoke softly. Then it can fear. Elena nodded once. Yes. The high speaker's glow dimmed slightly. You believe it can be made to retreat fully? Yes. But not through damage. Another explosion lit the hologram. A human cruiser was torn apart. Time was running out. Speak, the speaker ordered. Elena activated her communicator again. A new message spread through the human fleet. Not attack coordinates. Not defensive patterns. A location. Far beyond the battlefield. Near the edge of the black expanse. The reptilian council member stared at her. What are you doing? We are giving it something worse than us, Elena answered. Confusion filled the chamber. The Red Fleet suddenly paused again. Not fully, but slightly. Long-range human ships began firing toward empty space. Missiles streaked past the Black Fleet, heading deep into the dark region behind them. What is there? The pale council member asked. Elena's voice was calm. The damaged machine. The chamber went still. The ancient structure humanity had injured cycles ago still drifted in the darkness. Dormant, but not destroyed. The Hive Fleet detected the incoming human signals. Detected the energy spikes. Its ships slowed further. Because the signals were not random. They were broadcasting coordinates of weakness. Coordinates of arrival. The Red Fleet began pulling back slowly. Its decentralized units started reconnecting. The faint red network lines brightened. It was choosing. Fight the unpredictable humans and council. Or secure itself against another ancient threat. The high speaker watched carefully. You are forcing it to remember vulnerability. Yes, Elena said. The Red Fleet began full retreat. Not chaotic. Not panicked. Strategic. Pulling away from council space. Back, toward the darkness it came from. The battlefield grew quiet once more. Human ships did not chase. Council ships held position. The red icons moved farther and farther away, until they disappeared beyond sensor range. Silence filled the chamber. No cheers. No celebration. Only heavy breathing and dim lights. The threat was gone. For now. The high speaker slowly turned to Elena. You manipulated a hive intelligence. Elena answered softly. We reminded it that it is not alone. The reptilian council member looked uneasy. It will return. Yes, Elena said. When it is stronger. The pale council member asked the question no one wanted to say aloud. And when it returns, will humanity stand with us again? Elena did not answer immediately. She looked around the massive chamber. At the beings who had judged her species only hours ago. At that time, she said quietly, we will decide. The chamber understood the meaning. Humanity did not need protection. Humanity chose alliances. And that choice was far more powerful. Outside, Stars burned in silence. Deep in the black expanse, ancient machines stirred. And somewhere in the darkness, the hive mind remembered something new. Not confusion, not damage, but something it had never processed before. Fear. The war was over, but the silence that followed felt heavier than the battle itself. The Red Fleet had vanished into the darkness beyond the black expanse. Council ships slowly returned to defensive positions. Damaged vessels drifted through space, waiting for rescue teams. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, no one spoke for a long time. The hologram in the center still showed the empty battlefield, where death had just passed. The high speaker floated lower than usual. His light was dimmer now, not weak, but thoughtful. Commander Elena Reyes stood exactly where she had stood at the beginning of the day. In the center, alone, but no longer small, the reptilian council member finally broke the silence. You predicted its reaction. Elena answered calmly. We studied it. You risked everything on psychology, the pale council member added. Elena gave a small nod. Every enemy thinks it is logical. That is where they are blind. The high speaker turned toward the other council leaders. For 100 cycles, we observed humanity. His voice echoed through the vast chamber. We saw internal conflict. We saw aggression. We saw instability. He paused. But today, we saw something else. The chamber remained silent. We saw adaptability. A few council members lowered their heads slightly. We saw courage. Others shifted uncomfortably. And we saw restraint. That word carried weight. Elena had not ordered her fleet to chase the retreating enemy. She had not demanded control. She had not threatened the council. She had simply acted to survive. The reptilian leader looked directly at her. You could have let us fall. Elena did not deny it. Yes. The simple answer felt sharper than any insult. The high speaker studied her carefully. Why didn't you? Elena's voice was steady. Because if the galaxy burns, it will not stop at your borders. That answer carried no pride, no arrogance, only truth. The pale council member leaned forward. You do not seek domination. Elena shook her head. We seek survival. The chamber lights brightened slowly as the emergency state ended. The high speaker rose higher into the air once more, returning to his formal position. The council's earlier judgment must now be addressed. All eyes turned toward him. Humanity does not require protection. The words echoed across the chamber. This classification is officially withdrawn. A wave of energy passed through the circular seating tiers. The decision was being recorded into galactic law. The reptilian council member added in his deep voice, humanity is hereby recognized as a sovereign power. Another pause. The pale council member spoke next. And as a strategic ally. That was new. The council did not offer alliance lightly. Elena listened quietly. The high speaker turned directly toward her. Commander Elena Reyes of Earth. What does humanity request from the Galactic Council? This was the moment. Not a demand. Not a command. A choice. Elena looked around the chamber slowly. At the beings who had once seen her species as fragile. At the leaders who now understood the truth. Her answer was simple. Respect. The words settled into the chamber like gravity. No long speech. No list of conditions. Just one word. The reptilian council member nodded slowly. Earned. The pale council member inclined his head. Granted. The high speaker's light brightened fully again. Then let it be known across all systems, humanity stands not under our shield, but beside us. The declaration was transmitted instantly. Across thousands of worlds. Across countless species. The message spread through the stars. Humans were not weak. They were not unstable children. They were survivors. But the moment was not fully complete. Elena activated a small device on her wrist. A new image appeared in the center of the chamber. The damaged ancient machine from the black expanse. Still drifting. Still dangerous. We pushed the hive fleet away, she said quietly. But this is still active. The council watched the image carefully. The high speaker asked, You believe they will fight each other? Yes, Elena said. Two predators cannot share the same dark forever. And if one survives? The reptilian member asked. Elena's eyes were calm. Then we prepare. The chamber understood. This was not the end of danger. It was only a pause. The galaxy was still vast, still violent, still full of unknown threats. But something had changed. The council no longer looked down at humanity. They looked across. As equals. The high speaker floated closer one final time. Earlier today, we believed you needed protection. He paused. Elena met his glowing gaze. He finished softly. Now we understand the better question. She did not smile, but her eyes showed quiet strength. Yes, she said. The speaker's voice echoed one last time through the chamber. From who? No one answered. Because now they all knew. The galaxy did not need to fear humanity, but it needed to understand it. Humans were not the strongest, not the oldest, not the most advanced, but they were something rare. They were unpredictable. They were relentless. And when faced with extinction, they did not ask for protection. They became it. Far beyond the council chamber, human fleets returned home. Damaged ships carried scars of battle. Families waited. Worlds turned peacefully. Life continued. But across the galaxy, every major power updated its records that day. Under species classification, human. They removed the word protected. They removed the word primitive. And they added something new. Strategic variable. Because in a universe ruled by logic, humanity was chaos. And sometimes, chaos was the only shield anyone truly had. The day humanity was judged ended quietly. But its impact would echo through the stars for generations. The council had learned something important. You do not protect a storm. You learn how to stand beside it. And humanity? Humanity had finally stepped into its place among the stars. Not under a shield, but as one.